If you guys don't know me, my name is Eric. I'm the youth pastor here. I'm super excited to be here today. We're starting a new series called A Brand New Start. And I'm hoping that over the next few days, or few weeks, I should say. Is that you? There you go, buddy. I'll take it if you want. Over the next few weeks, I want to hopefully encourage you that this is an opportunity for you to start fresh. And when I was in 6th grade, about to go into 7th grade, I had a few more months in my 6th grade year. I moved from down south in Orange County area. When I say down Orange County, you probably think, like, wow, they got a lot of money. I didn't. We were broke. But it was in the Orange County area. And I moved up here. And it was an opportunity for me to change, to be what I always wanted to be. You know, when people know you for long enough, they know all the bad stuff you've done, right? They know all the mistakes that you've made. And it becomes a little bit harder for you to change, right? Because inevitably, people are going to label you. Oh, Ian's that one kid who did that one time. Or Jocelyn's that one person who said that one time. You know what I mean? And it sucks, but that's reality. Is that people will label you, people will judge you based on your old things. So it was kind of nice. Like, I did a lot of dumb stuff. Anybody do a lot of dumb stuff? Raise your hand, Mark. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we do a lot of dumb stuff. I did a lot of dumb stuff as a kid. And it was nice to be taken out of that environment, thrown into a completely new environment, and that no one knew me. And I want to encourage you that maybe that's not you. Maybe you haven't been thrown into a completely new environment, but you can have a brand new start. And Jesus does it all the time. I hate to use this word, but Jesus is kind of in the quote-unquote business of redemption and change. It's what he does. And I believe it's one of his most favorite things to do after giving you free grace. Is he wants to change you. He wants to make you brand new. He wants to give you something that you want. And that's acceptance, love, forgiveness, grace, and mercy. I want to talk to you guys today about this guy named Matthew. Just watch this clip of this guy named Matthew who was completely ostracized by his people. They did not like him. He was too different. They considered him to be a thief. Someone who had rejected his heritage, someone who no one could possibly love, someone who had messed up so bad that he couldn't possibly be forgiven. His name is Matthew. What I love about Jesus is Jesus loves to give new starts to people. I was one of those people that Jesus gave a new start to. I lived my life completely contrary to God for so long. And one day I was done. My life had fallen apart around me. I felt no one loved me, no one could like me, no one could accept me, no one could bring me into their circle. And the only thing I could do, it was like grasping at straws. It's my last chance. Anybody ever feel like that? You have one chance left and you don't know what it is. Well, I'm here to tell you what your chance is. Your only chance, whether it's your first, last, or 10,000th, your only chance is Jesus Christ. And just like we saw in that clip, Jesus will walk up to you and say, I choose you. Despite you. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you're going to do. I don't care where you've been or where you're going to go. I choose you just as you are, and I want to do something brand new in your life. This guy Matthew was sitting at a table, and it was tax season. Anybody here have jobs? You know that little thing that says minus and a certain amount of money on your paycheck? Yeah. See, back in the day, they didn't do that. Back in the day, it was your responsibility to walk up to a tax collector and give him your money. How many people say, I probably wouldn't go as often? Probably wouldn't give as much taxes as often. So this guy's sitting there, and he would recognize people. And there was tax collectors all over the city. And they'd be like, hey, you haven't paid your taxes. I'm coming to your house, you're going to pay them. Say you owe $10. I, as a tax collector, I'm going to charge you $15. Why? Because I got to eat. And 2, because I can. So this guy Matthew was sitting at a table calling people out, and they're waiting in line. He's saying, what's your name? Okay, Mark, you owe this amount. Okay, Marissa, you owe this amount. Jack, you owe this amount. Pay up, suckers. And Jesus gets on the scene, and this Pharisee is there, and he's mocking him. And people are probably throwing things at Matthew because people don't like him. They don't like tax collectors. Nobody likes getting their money taken, right? Whether it's to the government or stolen, no one likes it. It's a part of life. Ostracized, alone, probably emotionally broken. Jesus always chooses those people first, to put them in places where they can be praised, not because they're amazing, but because He is amazing. Because Jesus chooses ridiculous dirtbags like me to speak through so that people who are good, like all of you, will realize, holy crap, there really is a God if He can use a guy like that. Does that make sense? Because if He used people who thought, or who the world thought were perfect, there'd be no need for God. Because we would already assume that those people are good. But how many times do you really change your mindset on things when you see someone who's completely terrible change their ways? That is why Jesus chooses the lowly. Because He wants to heal their brokenness and glorify Himself through them. And here's what the Bible says when Jesus calls upon Matthew. Awesome. Are you serious? I love when that happens. You can edit that out, right? I don't even remember what verse it is now. Matthew 9:9. I know I could paraphrase, but my words aren't as good as Jesus's, huh? Matthew 9:9 says this. Jesus is walking from one place to the next. He's walking in the middle of Jerusalem, and he sees this tax collector. And Jesus walks up to the table, or to the tent, or to whatever it is that Matthew's at. And he sees him. And he just looks at him. And very simply, he doesn't make this big grandiose speech. I know we saw the video and it's pretty powerful. It's a dramatization. That's not necessarily how exactly it happened. But this for sure we know is real. This for sure we know this is word for word what happens. Jesus walks up to the man and simply says this, "Follow me." In their society, what that means is Jesus is walking up to him in front of this crowd of people who are rejecting him. And Jesus is literally saying, I choose you over all of them. I want to have an intimate relationship with you. How amazing would that feel? That Jesus chooses you over everyone else that you think probably are way better than you. Has anybody ever thought that? Anybody here have low self-esteem? It's okay, I have low self-esteem. I'll raise my hand, it's cool. I'm sure there's a part of every single one of us where there's a piece of us that says, man, I'm not as good as so-and-so. I could never, ever play the guitar like Mark. I'm not as good as him. And I would assume that Jesus would choose Mark's guitar playing over mine any day. But what Jesus is saying here, he's saying, I don't care about talent. I don't care about how you look. I don't care about what other people think of you. I choose you for you being you. Over all the talent in the world, over all of the good looks, over all the skinniness or the popularity or anything that it may be, Jesus chooses you. But there's a response of Matthew that supersedes the response of most other people. You see, Jesus, God Himself, chooses each and every one of us. The Bible's very clear upon that. When Jesus was crucified, He says this is for everyone. When Jesus says this is for everyone, He's saying, I literally choose everyone. But the response on everyone else's part isn't always the same. Matthew did something radical out of the grace and love of Jesus. And it's what I'm asking you to do as well. It's what I want to see in my own life. It's this idea where Jesus is going to give you something brand new. A completely new way of living. Something radical, a change that you didn't think was possible. This guy, Matthew, goes from being a thief and probably having a lot of extra money, being able to manipulate and control everyone around him simply by his title and his leadership, and being able to say, you are going to do this, this, and this. And what Matthew does is completely radical. He looks at Jesus in the eye, he puts down his bag of money, he gets up from his chair, he walks away, and he follows Jesus for the rest of his life. Never, ever looking back onto his old way of living. Jesus wants to give you a new way of living, but what you must do is grab hold and live it. Once again, Jesus says, I choose you. More than talent, more than looks, more than who likes you or who doesn't. I choose you for you. And now what I want you to do is follow me. Try your best to act like me. Try your best to be different from the rest of the world. Live a completely new way of life. You have that opportunity. You're going into school, you're only a few weeks in, you have this amazing opportunity to reinvent yourself based on the characteristics and the love of Jesus. Just because you were a dirtbag last year doesn't mean you have to continue it this year. Just because you were a liar and a cheater last year doesn't mean you have to be a liar and a cheater this year. Just because you were a bully last year doesn't mean you need to be one this year. Just because you committed yourself in all the wrong things last year doesn't mean you have to do it this year. You have an opportunity to live a completely new life, one that Jesus freely offers, and he promises is much better than the one you're living. Infinitely and greater than what you are doing now. Your life means so much more than simply living and breathing. Your life is a book in which people can see the forgiveness and grace and mercy of the only God that exists. Matthew had a choice to make. To live the life that he wanted to while still trying to follow God, or completely radically change everything about himself and live like Jesus. And I pray that all of us can choose the latter and live like Jesus.